Coming up on Tech News today, browse your own body. Google's got a new anatomy feature. Also, the UN sending black helicopters to take over the internet. Could be fun. And should we go after pill peddlers or movie pirates worse? We'll tell you.
Netcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is TWiT.
Bandwidth for Tech News Today is provided by Cachefly at CACHEFLY.com.
This is Tech News Today for Friday, December 17th, 2010. Tech News Today is brought to you by Carbonite. Backing up the files on your PC or Mac is safe and easy with Carbonite. For a free trial plus 2 free months with purchase, go to Carbonite.com. Use the offer code TNT. And by Slingbox, which just turned your iPad into a television. Slingbox introduces their new iPad app just in time for the holidays, so now you can watch your home TV on your iPad anywhere you take it. Check it out at a Best Buy near you or slingbox.com. Welcome to Tech News Today. I'm Tom Merritt.
I'm Sarah Lane.
And I'm Jason Howell.
Joining us on our Beverage Friday is Mr. Ryan Block from Gadget at gdgt.com. Welcome, Ryan.
Hey,
Well,
Ryan.
my beverage? Water.
Vodka.
Or is it?
Yeah,
Or
really.
is it Everclear?
We'll know in
You
about
will never
10
know.
seconds.
Yeah, actually, you will know.
Well, no, because it won't eat its way through the bottle by the end of the show. Well, therefore, it's not Everclear.
True, it's sulfuric acid.
Right. Well, the big thing people are talking about today is not WikiLeaks. It's not net neutrality. It's WordLens.
I've never seen so many tech nerds so excited about an iPhone app in my life.
You were saying earlier today that you wish you were WordLens because then
WordLens
people
Lane,
would love you.
people would love me more.
Yeah.
And they'd say that I was the best thing to ever happen to technology in the universe.
So we're going to try it out. What WordLens does, it's an iPhone app, and what it does is it will translate anything you point it at.
Well, while you're taking video,
Right.
which is an important part of this.
So I've got the app running. I bought the Spanish to English. It's a free app, but you have to pay for the languages. Right now, all they offer is Spanish to English, English
Right.
to Spanish. So I'm pointing it at a Chipotle napkin.
What is a Chipotle?
It is
Go ahead.
apparently-
Just go ahead.
Well, it's trying to translate the jalapeno. And
Singing.
Yeah, singing.
I feel like we're
You know
we're,
what?
Too advanced.
Chipotle is
women
not
on
a
this.
real Spanish
We are.
word. Sarah wrote this.
Chipotle is so a real Spanish word. It's a pepper.
Sarah wrote this.
I wrote
Yeah,
a
but
note
even
to
in English you
Tom.
call it
This
Chipotle
note-
pepper, right?
Let's see.
Now
Does
you're
it-
supposed to be a whole hand length away.
Yeah, I know. I'm not quite. Let's see.
For anyone who's not familiar with Espanol, I asked Tom for money in a very nice way. So Kiero is want. Well, I want. So they're getting that right.
getting some of
but
them,
they're
but-
they're getting it right, but they're not sure.
It's flipping it back. Let's go to a simpler word. Here, we'll just do that.
La cucaracha, which is the cockroach.
The slinks.
And
Or the
Espanol.
the cognac. There we go. I got far enough away. and
The
it's-
cockroach.
There we go. We made it work.
Now, I think it's worth noting that everyone was so crazy, excited, freaked out about WordLens because on WordLens's own website, they've got this really neat video that they put together that shows it working flawlessly with a bunch of sort of billboard, like Bob Dylan-esque pictures, going back and forth. Obviously, in our field tests, it
Not
takes
quite
a
so
little
accurate.
more.
It's variable.
Yeah.
I tried going landscape on it. Some people were like, "Go landscape, go landscape." I tried going landscape before we came down here, and it wouldn't work at all.
And I know
You wouldn't think that would have any effect.
I guess it just can't tell. I think it needs to know that the word is horizontal, related to the phone.
Are you sure it's not just because you're getting snippets of what's behind the piece of
Yeah,
paper?
I'm not sure that.
Yeah.
Anyway, it looks like
It's a great idea.
It works on the iPhone 3GS, iPhone 4, and the latest iPod Touch. Of course, it won't work on the iPad because the iPad doesn't have a camera yet.
Boos. It's gonna be really fun once iPad 2 comes out, though.
Oh yeah.
I gotta say, it is cool watching it like kind of decode
Yes.
in real time.
Yeah.
Well, that's
Yeah, when it
English,
works
but
like
yeah.
that, it looks
That was English.
amazing. It's working in landscape mode and everything.
Yeah, I mean that's selling it pretty.
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty much there.
It would have helped me when I was in France with menus. Well, they don't have a French
absolutely.
version yet, but you have to assume that it's coming out. And there's a lot of stuff I didn't know. It would
Bien
have been
sûr.
great to just hover my camera video over a menu and know what I'm getting before I order.
You know what also works? Pocket Dictionary.
Or that.
Or just learn the language.
Oh, Tom. Come on.
That's what I do. Every time I go out of the country.
Grandma now.
Yes.
Every time
I go learn how to speak a language fluently.
Every language, absolutely fluently.
Oh, I mean, that's how I speak 48 languages.
That's why you're so
just
in
try.
demand by the United Nations.
Sure.
The United Nations is considering whether to set up an intergovernmental working group to harmonize global efforts by policymakers to regulate the internet. In other words, the United Nations is sending its black helicopters to seize the internet.
By the way, nice segue there.
Oh, thank you. At a meeting in New York on Wednesday, representatives from Brazil called for an international body made up of government representatives. In some ways, this sounds perfectly reasonable. The governments of the world saying, let's get together and discuss the different ways we regulate the internet. And if it were left at that, that would be fine. The issue is there already are governing bodies for the internet. In fact, there's an Internet Governing Council, which is meant to take the concerns of governments to the governing bodies of the internet, like ICANN, which handles names and numbers,
right?
And all the other ways the internet is governed. So a lot of folks are looking at this saying, wait a minute, this is an attempt to seize control of the internet by governments without involving those bodies like ICANN. Vince Cerf actually posted a blog up at a blog posting at Google saying just that. And in fact, what's also interesting is Australia, the United States, the United Kingdom, Belgium, and Canada all oppose South Africa, China, Saudi Arabia, and Brazil in this effort to bring the United Nations more over the internet.
Well, I just don't. I mean, why another governing body over the internet? Why not just fix the supposed governing bodies that are already in place?
Well, one of the problems with the IGF is that they haven't brought in people from the internet.
Right.
So, yeah.
It's just government
It seems like
folks.
this would just make it worse.
Exactly. Yeah, I don't like this idea at all.
Brian, do you have any thoughts on the matter? Do you think or do you think maybe this is just irrelevant? It's just the UN blowing smoke. They can't really do anything.
Well, I mean, the way that it came off. By the way, my video cut for a second. Am I back?
Yeah, you are back.
You are
Okay.
back. Yes.
Yeah.
The way that it came off was that that governments felt completely, powerless against information dissemination on the internet. WikiLeaks obviously is a really good example, and since they don't have any direct control, they're looking to take it. I mean, is there another interpretation here that I might have missed?
No, I think that is the way it seems to come off. I mean, there's the other interpretation of the governments who are saying, we don't have a voice in the internet, and we need to have one. But the internet, there is the internet governance for them.
Why now?
Because of WikiLeaks, absolutely.
Right. It's like I know it might seem a little cynical to kind of look at it that way, but why right now? Mm-hmm. And why have such centralized why propose such centralized authority? It really rubs me the wrong way, and it's frankly I think it's best if governments have really very little to do with control of the internet.
And I actually don't know if they can take control of the internet without the internet. The internet would have to cooperate, and the internet is not a person. It's not even a group. You'd have to get every single backbone network provider, every operator out there to go along with this, because as soon as one of them doesn't, then you've got a dark net and you've got a way around it.
Yeah, but governments are, when they want something, they know how to really rally together and make that happen. And governments can make companies who operate a lot of, backbone points throughout the world. They can make those companies' lives very difficult.
Yeah, they could definitely make things worse.
So
That's a good point.
I wouldn't say that governments are powerless here and that they're grasping at straws. I mean, I think that if they really wanted to pull some moves, they probably could. But then we'll just have to go decrypt Julian Assange's insurance file, see what's in there.
See it. That makes you happy.
Yeah.
All right. On to a court case about P2P. 10 days after a federal judge in Washington, D.C. cut down the U.S. copyright group's mass file sharing claims from several thousand to 800. A federal judge in West Virginia has come down even harder on the adult copyright company. They were bringing some 9,000 plus lawsuits in one case, and the judge said you can't do that. You can't just lump them all together. All these people have different defenses.
Now, what were the charges brought against these 9,000 folks?
Well, yeah, they were saying that they had downloaded and shared, so not only downloaded but also uploaded over P2P pornographic films.
Okay, so these 9,000 folks who supposedly did, I mean, they all have what we could only assume very different cases. I mean, whether they did or they didn't,
right.
or it was somebody on their network, or I mean, you can't lump 9,000 people together and just assume that they're all on the same boat.
What were some of the films that they downloaded? Does anybody know?
Oh, well, I think one of them had to do with Batman.
Batman XXX, a porn parody.
Yeah. So there was another part 2 of something. Part 2 is a sequel.
Can't
There's
find
some kind of nightmare.
Yeah, there's a.
Yeah.
There's a Nightmare 2, Part 2.
There was
another word
there was
in
teen babysitters. Was
right, because
Right.
that's better than minimum wage.
Oh, you're thinking of Teen Anal Nightmare 2.
That's the one.
That's right.
That's
okay.
the one. Yeah.
So some of these people would have downloaded different ones.
Right.
You can't lump them all together. The judge overseeing the case said that's enough. You have to file individually. You have to pay a $350 case filing fee for every one of them. And on top of that, you have to bring the case in the region in which the person is. He's like,
right.
So the only ones you can bring to my court, since I'm in West Virginia, are people in the West Virginia area, the people in the West Virginia district.
This is such an obvious example of someone just bullying people because they don't want to be embarrassed. It's like, pay me some money to not take this to court because you downloaded Anal Nightmares Part 2.
Right. Teen.
I'm sorry. Yes. Different than grown-up anal
Anyway,
nightmares.
it's a setback for the idea that these companies, these sort of third-party companies, can make a business off of running around and suing thousands of people at once and hoping to settle out of court.
You know, this guy also apparently he represents a company, but the individual lawyer who this is about, apparently he had been successful with a few folks already, and then he just got sloppy and went, I'm just going to go ahead and bring 9,000 more names to the table here and make a bunch of money.
Yeah.
You know, it seems pretty smarmy to me.
And that's the way the courts should work. You should have to pursue your cases one at a time, not just, you know.
Yeah, you can't lump 9,000 people together and think that you know each individual case. I mean, that's not how it works.
This episode of Tech News Today is brought to you by Carbonite, the leader in online backup. I've got it running right now. Let me check. Is it backing up? No, it's not back. It's scanning for changed files right now. That's what it does. It looks at your hard drive once you've got it set up, and it says, anything change here? Okay, that file changed. I'm going to back that up. So it always keeps you up to date with the latest data changes when you don't have to do anything. I've got it set on a lower priority, so if I'm downloading a movie, if I'm watching TV, it's not going to interrupt me for the backup. It's going to back up when I've let it go, when it's got some time to do it on its own. And most of all, it protects you from disaster. If you lose your data, it's gone. So I recommend a couple of ways to back up. Have a local backup that you keep. Have an online backup like Carbonite. And Carbonite helps protect all the valuable files on your computer in the cloud. Plus, the added benefit of that is you can access those files from anywhere for free. Carbonite gives you access not only through a browser if you're on another computer, but also on your phone. They have iPhone and BlackBerry apps absolutely free. So check it out and try it for free. It's only $55 a year on your PC or Mac. That's 15 cents a day. It's not expensive. But if you're like, you know what, I don't know if this is for me, try it out for free. Go to Carbonite.com, enter the offer code TNT, and you will feel better about your data. You'll know that you've got the data you've marked in Carbonite backed up, and you don't have to worry about it anymore. It's going to be there if your hard drive crashes, or if there is a tsunami or a hurricane or a fire or something like that. If you decide to buy the service, you're going to get 2 months free with that code TNT. So be sure to sign up for the free trial from the homepage to get the 2 months free. Don't need to use your credit card. Put that wallet back in your pocket. All you need to do is go to Carbonite.com and use the offer code TNT. We thank them for their support of Tech News Today. The European Union authorities have broadened their investigation of Google over whether they are stacking the deck in search results. 2 complaints from Germany. One involving a group of newspaper and magazine publishers, and the other a mapping company, are making the same complaints that Google prefers their own services to those of others when you do searches.
Okay, so the map company I could understand, because if you put in an address, let's say, the Google Map result is always right at the top.
That's what
and
they're
you click on
complaining
that
about.
and-
They're like, look, we are a mapping company. People pay us for our maps, but you go to Google, you type in a search term, the Google map comes up. They'll never click on our service.
Well, I mean, it's hard to argue with a free map versus a paid-for map, isn't it?
I would have to agree with you there. So is that
Well,
the
what
question is that an unfair advantage? They're starting to bandy about the term search neutrality because Google is such a dominant player.
Right.
They're saying, look, it's unfair. Google's the only search engine people use.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a toughie. I mean, if you're offering something for free that people want, I don't know how you can compare the two. Well, what are the news or the magazine publishers? What is their complaint? That
they're saying that they have 450 newspaper and magazine publishers in their members. They brought the complaint a year ago to the German Federal Cartel Office, accusing Google of manipulating search rankings so that their stuff doesn't show up as high. Ryan, what do you think? I mean, is this search neutrality just a bunch of crap?
I think there's two aspects of the story. One is Google promoting their own stuff unfairly, and the other thing is Google using their own products to create better search pages. And so the maps is like a good example of the latter, right? Where if you type in an address, you get a better page. You don't just get a bunch of links. You actually get an embedded map, and that might not be possible with other services. Not everybody has a mapping API that will let you pull out a thumbnail of the map and then have the hot link through to the full lat long of the address and showing up in the maps. And the map might not be free and stuff like that. So that I think is actually separate from is Google just linking to its own stuff more often. They're two different issues, but either way, I mean, I don't know if I really see a problem. I think it is kind of crap. I mean, if you don't like it, there are plenty of alternative search engines.
Well, and
there's
I think
no shortage.
Well, that's the thing is there's plenty of search engines, but effectively most of the people in the world use Google. So do they have a monopoly in this case?
It could be said that they have a monopoly, but I don't think anybody is complaining about the quality of Google's results. I mean, the only people who seem to be complaining are people with competing products.
Yep.
Right.
Although that's, in other words, there aren't enough people complaining about the results that it seems that Google is really doing a bad job. And Google's changed their tune. Back in the early days, they said, hey, it's an algorithm. We don't even touch it. Now they're saying, you know what? It's our opinion. Our algorithm is an expression of our opinion of what we think the most important things on the internet are. And in our opinion, our stuff's pretty good. So what if we put it up there at the front? Google's also rejecting a Connecticut request for Wi-Fi data. This is the Attorney General Richard Blumenthal, who is asking for the Wi-Fi data Google collected when they were running their Street View maps to be turned over. And Google said, no, we are not going to turn that over. You don't need that. You don't have a case for it. So Blumenthal has had his bluff called a little bit here, and he is deciding whether to pursue legal action against Google after the request was rejected. But I think Google, in this case, is saying, look, we're protecting privacy. There's no reason for Connecticut to look at this data. We really just want to delete it.
Yeah, I mean, what is Blumenthal's reasoning for needing the data? He's. I assume he's got to argue that Google's going to do something nefarious with this information.
Yeah, they want to see what was collected in order to make a judgment of whether Google violated the law.
Right.
So it is, in some cases, a reasonable way, but so many people have looked at the data, the FTC,
sure,
the United Kingdom, many other countries. No one has yet brought a case against Google.
It's almost like he's just flexing his power to see if he can get the information.
Richard Blumenthal is known to try to take headline-winning cases. That's not necessarily a bad thing, but he is the kind of attorney general who will look for a case to have a great effect.
Right,
put it that way.
Interesting.
Interesting article also up on Forbes today in their firewall, Jeffrey Carr's column, about Stuxnet. Now, we reported yesterday that a leak in WikiLeaks seemed to indicate that Israel was planning a virus attack on Iran, and that security experts have estimated that Stuxnet set back Iran's nuclear policy by 2 years. Jeffrey Carr is saying, let's not be so quick to point at Israel or the United States. He thinks there are plenty of other reasonable explanations for this, and he points out that Vacon, the Finnish manufacturer of the frequency converter drives, at least one of the two frequency converter drives targeted by the malware. These are converter drives that exist in the spinning material in the nuclear machines that the malware attacked and caused to spin out of phase, thus ruining the machines. They operate out of China. And Vacon's frequency converter drives are manufactured particularly in Suzhou, China. I don't know if I'm saying that right, but they're manufactured in a city in China at the same place as a company called Realtek. Realtek's digital certificate was used by Stuxnet. It was forged by Stuxnet. So what he's trying to say is maybe China is the one behind this because, and follow the logic here, China has supported Iran in public, but has expressed a concern about Iran's nuclear program. If they want to stay in support of Iran, but they don't want Iran to get nukes, what better way than to create a virus that ruins Iran's nuclear program and makes it look like the United States or Israel did it?
Right, and they get to remain an ally. Now, the whole, Israel did it is, there's like a Hebrew reference in the code and some sort of biblical. It's kind of like you read this report and you think, yeah, I mean, why would it be so obvious? I mean, his logic seems pretty solid. Why would it be so obvious that, it must be Israel that would have done it because there's a word or two in there?
Well, yeah, I mean, granted, some independent hacker could put Hebrew in there on behalf of Israel because they're a partisan,
sure.
But at the same time, somebody who wanted to make it look like it was Israel could do that as well. So, that in and of itself isn't proof.
No.
Ryan, do you have an opinion on this particular Clancy-esque theory?
I think there are a lot of theories about Stuxnet right now. I think it's very mysterious.
Yeah, it is.
I don't know. I mean, it's one of those things that I don't know if we're ever going to know the truth. We may never know.
Will it be? It'll be a Kennedy assassination.
Right. Yeah. We're going to be Zaprudering this for a very long time, looking at the code and
this Zapruder trace route.
Yeah, exactly. I'm not 100%. I think that the whole Hebrew. I mean, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what languages may or may not be in there, what references may or may not be in there. There's a lot of reason to I mean, if it was Israel, I think that they would be completely idiotic to have actually put some Hebrew in there and some references to the Old Testament. I mean, I can't even imagine who would have signed off on that if this was if they didn't want to leave their fingerprints on something.
That's why it seems like such a setup, though. I mean, it's like a screenplay for a George Clooney movie.
Yeah.
And I hope they make it.
I hope they make it too. Search firms, payment providers, net hosting firms have all pledged to go along with a government attempt here in the United States to crack down on online stores that sell fake drugs or pills without prescriptions. Research suggests about 36 million Americans have bought medicines from unlicensed web pharmacies. It can be dangerous, not only because you might take the medicine without proper advisement, but you might be taking the wrong medicine. You might be thinking you're ordering Enzyte, and you end up with arsenic.
Looking for Viagra.
You know what's really dangerous? Because it keeps these spammers spamming. That's why it's truly dangerous.
Yeah, that's a good point too. As long as these people are in a business, you're going to have a vector in which to advertise them, and that vector for these places is definitely spam. However, I can't help but be struck by the fact that this is essentially exactly what the MPAA has been asking the internet to do in regards to fighting pirated video and audio. In other words, please, can the search firms, can the ISPs, can the payment providers all help us crack down? And the defense against that is usually, well, wait a minute, you haven't brought anything through a court. You haven't proven that anyone has done anything wrong. So is that different here, or are we okay because, well, it's online pharmacies?
Well, I mean, this is something that's potentially making a lot of people very sick.
Yeah,
so that's the difference.
I think there's actually a public health issue here. I mean, people could be getting very sick and dying. Nobody died from pirating a movie.
Well, teen anal nightmare 2 could make you very sick, Ryan. Trust me.
That being said, I think, but still, even with that being true, and there's much more at stake here. Do we still suspend innocent until proven guilty? Should all of these companies go after websites? Maybe they're accused of selling unlicensed pharmaceuticals when in fact they are licensed and it's a mistake, and then they get pulled down.
I mean, isn't it? But they're not licensed.
Well, we don't know. Has that been proven in a court of law?
I suppose not.
Because that's the argument against the pirators too. Is like, well, they're stealing. Well, maybe they weren't. Maybe they were just downloading Linux ISOs and they were named the Hurt Locker.
You're right. I mean, legally, you're right. But I don't think that's what's going on.
I don't know. I mean, it should be pretty easy to check to see if one of these sites is licensed, right?
I guess
there's got to be a licensing authority,
right? But do you need to go through court for that, or can you just say, oh, they have a license or not, and if they don't, we pull them? I guess you can, right? They just say that's our terms of service.
That would seem to make the most sense.
Speaking of music, Apple still owns the online music market. Despite Amazon cutting prices ridiculously for digital downloads, Apple still owns 66% of the online music market, and that's actually up from 63% earlier this year. So it doesn't look like anybody can do anything to bring Apple down. They are dominant when it comes to buying digital music.
I mean, do you really see these numbers changing that much? Because we're talking about downloads, and I mean, I see downloads as going down in general as we move forward, and people are streaming music through the cloud.
Yeah, well, the numbers haven't showed that yet, but digital music sales have not been growing nearly as fast, and that's probably because of that. We're not at that point yet, but you're right.
I just don't see anybody gaining on Apple all that much because I don't see downloads gaining in general.
Yeah. What do you think, Ryan?
I think that, if you look at overseas markets, you're seeing increased streaming, especially free streaming, which is totally different than what we have in America. Right now, we all still tend to pay for our music, and obviously increasingly online. And much less in physical media. But overseas, everybody's just streaming, and a lot of people are doing it for free. So in a way, we're kind of already becoming isolated in the way that our digital music market is. And, I think we need to actually start to make that move over. And it's going to be a long time, I think, before we can kind of get that all figured out, because licensing and royalties in the U.S., especially within free streaming, is just a nightmare. Nobody's making any money, and everybody is unhappy.
I think you're both right. I think that's where it's going. It may take a little bit longer for us to get there because of the negotiations, but digital downloads will be a specialty market eventually. I think you're right. Streaming your own video to yourself, though, you can do by buying a Slingbox, and they are a sponsor of this show. This episode of Tech News Today is brought to you by Slingbox, and just in time for the holidays, they turned your iPad into a television. Slingbox introduces their new iPad app. Now you can watch your home TV on your iPad anywhere you take it that has an internet connection. Slingbox is a great holiday gift. You can find Slingbox or see a demo at a Best Buy near you. You plug it into your TV, you plug it into the internet, and then everything you get at home, all your television, you can watch on your iPad, on your laptop, on your BlackBerry, on your iPhone. Check it out at slingbox.com. Slingbox and your home TV now appearing on iPads everywhere.
Woohoo.
Time for the News Fuse. Level 3 may be paying Comcast for interconnections in order to deliver video to Comcast customers, but they still are not happy about it. Level 3 Communications, Inc. asked U.S. antitrust officials to set conditions on Comcast's planned acquisition of NBC Universal that would assure, quote, unfettered access to all internet content. They're not going down without a fight.
Good news to many, many, many people on the internet. Doesn't look like Yahoo is going to just up and shut down bookmarking website Delicious. We are not shutting down Delicious, a post on the Delicious blog read.
That's
While
pretty
we
clear.
have determined that there is not a strategic fit at Yahoo, we believe there is an ideal home for Delicious outside the company where it can be resourced to the level where it can be competitive.
Hey, Ryan, do you know where your spleen is located?
Somewhere in my torso.
What about your appendix?
Also in my torso.
Kidney?
I think that one's actually up here.
You know,
Yeah. Kidney head.
Don't worry about it. You don't need to remember. Google just released the beta of Body Browser, a three-dimensional model that lets users zoom in and out of the human form, remove layers, explore the body, figure out that your kidney's not in your neck. Get your anatomy on at bodybrowser.googlelabs.com.
That's a great URL. Apple's dropping some cool billions on screen factories. Japanese news organization Nikkei reports Sharp will get $1.2 billion from Apple to build a factory to punch out some iPhone screens. Many of them, actually. That's in addition to a separately reported Toshiba factory investment, which will also produce screens for Apple devices. So they're very busy.
Lots of billions. Do you wish movie downloads came with special features like DVDs do?
Yeah, I love special features.
Paramount's going to do it with the first Silverlight enhanced movie app, School of Rock, for Windows Phone 7 devices this week. 10 more flicks will be released before the end of the year with a range of extras, including trailers, DVD-style special features, a Seen It pop-up trivia mode, and... this is interesting, the ability to create custom movie clips.
Is it just me, or does School of Rock seem like a really random movie? It's not new.
It's totally random.
I don't know
how they decide
exactly?
these things. It's always strange what they pick.
Yeah. Amazon's updating their Kindle apps to include the ability to read magazines and newspapers and make purchases from within the app. And guess what? Android users are the very first to get it. Woohoo! The Android app can also be stored on a micro SD card, and it also lets you post your reading progress to social networks.
Australian police had an OJ-style iPhone chase. They used the iPhone GPS app and a helicopter to track down an iPhone thief. Police pulled out all the stops, nabbing the thief who stole a woman's iPhone from a hospital in suburban Heidelberg in Melbourne's northeast on Tuesday afternoon. The police air wing was already in the area and used the GPS coordinates to spot the thief on a stolen bike and get the iPhone back.
Was the iPhone made out of 24-karat gold?
No.
I've never heard of such a chase.
I know.
Over a stolen
I think
iPhone.
the helicopter
just think about how stoked the owner of that bike was, though. It's like, yes, thank you.
I got my bike back, too.
Yeah.
Blockbuster rental kiosks can't brag about release dates anymore because NCR, the company that owns and operates Blockbuster Express kiosks, licensed the name from Blockbuster, announced yesterday that they will get Warner Home Video films 28 days after they're released. NCR said the deal will help it reduce acquisition costs, and the agreement between the parties kicks off in January.
I like this in the chat room. Virgil says, if the sim doesn't fit, you must acquit. All right. Finally, our pocket airports could be coming to a neighborhood near you. NASA's Green Flight Challenge has been offering $1.6 million in production funds to the winning design for a low-cost, quiet, short takeoff personal aircraft. And one way that the personal aircraft could be used is in neighborhood airports that allow you to hop in 2 to 4 passenger SAVs between neighborhoods. One use that they could be put to is to reach the major airport. So instead of driving or taking a cab, you would fly from your neighborhood pocket airport, which would be just a really small runway, to a pocket airport near the airport, and then you could get on your big plane. It would cut down the travel time quite a bit.
I love this idea, especially for urban areas where the airport is a huge pain to get to. Maybe it's far away from the center. There's always a lot of traffic, or it just depends on the city we're talking about. But would these pocket airports be good for something other than taking you to the big airport?
Well, you could go from one to the other, I assume. They say they'd be capable of 120 operations per hour. That's one takeoff every 30 seconds. And you only need 2 acres of land. So conceivably, you could put a lot of them out there, and then you could just hop from one to the other.
One to the other. I love this idea.
Yeah. Would we actually get our flying cars?
That's what this sounds like to me. It's like public transportation in the air. It's wonderful.
Although, I don't know. I'm a little worried.
What are you worried about? Just because of the way people drive?
Most people can barely handle driving a car in 2-axis, forward and left, right. I think when you add the Z-axis, it's not going to be good.
We need self-driving cars, stat.
Well, no, wait a second. These flying vehicles would be manned by us?
Yes.
Oh, that changes things somewhat.
Yeah,
I don't want to be
even if it was manned by, say, city bus drivers.
Does that make a difference for you,
That
Sarah?
is in many ways actually worse.
You make good points. I don't know. Yeah, I guess I hadn't thought that far into who was actually going to be manning my vehicle that was going to take off at a steep ascent from a 2-acre lot in Hayes Valley.
Imagine the guy who operates the 21 Muni route in San Francisco.
No, that guy is cool. He knows how to get around people.
That's true. It's true. Some of those bus drivers have skills.
They know what they're doing.
All right. Nobody wants to be on that route, though. Let's look at the calendar. Rupert Murdoch's daily iPad newspaper, this is the one where he's hired actual journalists to work for an iPad-only edition of a newspaper, is set to publish the week of January 17th, according to multiple sources talking to Peter Kafka at All Things D. BlackBerry Playbook is going to ship in March. Here's the logic. In an earnings call, RIM said that the Playbook would not affect their Q1 earnings. Q2 starts for them on February 26th. And they've said that the Playbook will ship in Q1. Q1 ends on the end of March. Not the fiscal Q1, but the regular Q1. So that leaves them February 26th through March 30th to ship the Playbook unless they change their minds.
Yeah, by that logic, it's kind of like little vague hints.
They could totally just change their mind and not do that, though.
Ship in March, you know?
It actually doesn't seem that far, to be honest.
You don't think so?
No, that sounds about right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Android 2.3 Gingerbread source code is now available. If you want to pick through that, compile it yourself, try to put it on a rooted device. And Xbox Live Marketplace holiday sale starts December 21st.
Yeah. What are you going to pick up, Tom?
I'm going to pick up Comic Jumper.
Yeah.
Yeah. What about you?
Castle Crashers.
Castle Crashers?
It's a little too steep for me initially.
Ryan,
It's a good one.
What about you?
Castle Crasher is definitely worth picking up. I'm gamed out. I've got everything I need, honestly.
Wow.
I have more than I can play right now.
What arcade game do you get for the man who has everything?
It's true. I did pick up Super Meat Boy, which is going on sale, but that game is ridiculously hard. I can't get through it. It's like 2 levels, and then I get so far because there's no checkpoints.
Right.
So it's crazy.
Ugh. But it's Super Meat Boy. It's made of meat. On to the voicemail, 260-TNT show if you'd like to leave us a voicemail on our Gmail box, or you could do like Brian here did and send us a video. Just upload it to your favorite video sharing site and send us the link. Brian's got something to say about the military blocking newspaper sites.
Hey guys, this is Brian in frosty Peoria. Tom, this is what Illinois looks like right now. Take a look. Should look familiar. But I wanted to make a comment about the military blocking access to New York Times and Gawker and other sites. And I think it points out something that you had commented on, Tom, that people were always complaining about WikiLeaks and attacking them, and nobody had gone after the New York Times or these other places, even though they hosted the very same content. And I think the military is making a point that, hey, we don't care who it is. Content's content, classified's classified, and that New York Times, these guys are just as bad as WikiLeaks does. So anyway, love the show. Here's our winter wonderland here at work.
It looks cold.
It looks very cold.
Yeah.
I'm not sure I'd really characterize that as a wonderland.
No.
Like a parking lot, I guess.
Wonder lot.
One-story functionalist building in the middle of a frozen tundra. That says Illinois to me, baby.
Bingo.
And you had a pro tip earlier in prep when we watched this, like, maybe don't walk.
Yeah, pro tip, when sending in video mail to the show, try to be stationary if possible. Not in the wind also helps.
But good-looking video, I thought.
Yeah.
And point well made about the fact that, you know what, the military bureaucracy doesn't care one whit. If it's classified, it's classified. And if it's going on that computer, that's going to make that computer classified. I think that's a little silly, commonsensically speaking, at this point, since it probably shouldn't be classified anymore, considering some of it shouldn't be. I don't want to be too broad here. But the stuff that's been in the New York Times is known to the entire world. So whether that should remain classified, I guess, is a separate question. But, the guy who's enforcing the IT policy just has to do what he does. All right, we got one final email here, TNT@twit.tv. Pete wrote in and pointed out that Representative Greg Walden of Oregon posted this to Twitter earlier today. Down there, the ... dashes. He also happens to be a ham radio operator, W7EQI. He has now been named chairman of the House Energy and Commerce Committee's Subcommittee on Communications and Technology. That, among other things, includes oversight of the FCC. As you see in his follow-up, he says, the last tweet was Morse code, just the ham radio operator in me having fun. It gives me a little hope that we actually have a ham radio operator in charge of the FCC oversight, because he might actually know something about technology.
Right. He's proven his Morse skills, that's for sure.
There's only one other ham radio operator in Congress. That's Representative Mike Ross of Arkansas.
But has he tweeted in Morse code?
Or does he even have a Twitter account?
That too.
Hard to say. Don't know.
I've never seen a Morse code tweet before this.
Yeah.
I'm sure they exist.
I'm sure they do.
But this is the first one I've seen. So
anyway,
color me impressed.
Good job, Representative Walden. I like it.
We love you.
All right. Thank you, Ryan Block, for hanging out with us and fighting through your cold to talk technology with us today. Let folks know about Gadget.
Just go to gdgt.com. We're going to be posting up, I think, in the next couple of days, our top gadgets from the year, most wanted, and I think most owned, which should be familiar to people who've watched some of your other shows, Tom.
That's right. I actually saw the newsletter today with Most Wanted in it, and Tom's Top 5 Revision 3 has some of these as well, because Gadget is very nice to provide that stuff to me so I can make the countdowns. I appreciate that, Ryan. I really do.
No, I thank you, Tom.
No, stop it.
Oh, jeez.
Now it's getting
gdgt.com.
All right, thanks everybody for watching Tech News Today. You can find us on the web at twit.tv/TNT. Email us at tnt@twit.tv and give us a call, our Google Voice number, even if you just want to say, hey, 260-TNT Show. We'll see you Monday.